This situation just got even crazier as we have a new Kyle Tucker offer leaked by MLB Network's Jon Heyman. He talks about the offer given by the Blue Jays, by the Dodgers, by the Mets, and why a deal for Tucker could happen today. We get to the latest news and information right here today on Dodgers Digest. Welcome, everybody. I'm Jace Andrews. I appreciate you tuning in to today's show, and I hope you're having a wonderful day. Let's dive in right away today with the news from Jon Heyman. This was very early this morning. In fact, on the Pacific time, it was nearly 4 a.m. He said that folks involved say that a deal for number one free agent Kyle Tucker could come as soon as today. Ex-teammates guessed that he'd prefer Toronto over an even market, and he obviously lives near Tampa. Now, Mets have also offered him $50 million a year, but the Dodgers are used to winning. Any other team would be a major upset to acquire Mr. Kyle Tucker at this point. Now, lots of things from this tweet to break down for Jon Heyman, but there's a lot of ways to also look at this contract. And the first thing is to talk about these contracts and talk about what the best option is for Kyle Tucker. We know that he is looking for a long-term deal, right? That's what he wants. That's the ultimate goal, is to be signed for 8, 9, 10 years. And with the stats that he has at just 28 years old, he very well could. But the problem being is that no one has been willing to meet what he is asking, because he wants $40 million a year. But as of right now, no one's really willing to give him that, at least in a long-term facet. Before we get into the rest of today's show, this video is brought to you by Kalshi. And if you download Kalshi using the link in the description and use code DIGESTMLB, you're going to get $20 when you trade your first 100. Kalshi is the largest prediction market in the United States, and on their platform, you can trade yes or no on real-life events, sports, selections, news, and pretty much anything. You can trade on how much rain there's going to be in Los Angeles this week. Now, whether you're in California like the Dodgers, Texas, or anywhere across the country, Kalshi is now live in all 50 states. Now, for sports fans, we can trade on game outcomes, playoff chances, or player performances, all on a regulated market where you can cash out at any time. Of course, the Los Angeles Rams are looking for an NFC championship, so I decided I'm going to trade 100 on Kalshi, and if the Rams do end up winning the NFC, I'm going to get a gain of $186 on the profit. It's genuinely the smarter way to use your sports or news knowledge, and you can close positions whenever you want. Again, download Kalshi using the link in the description, and don't forget to use this code DIGESTMLB to get your $20 bonus. So Kyle Tucker, we talked about how he wants $40 million. That is very much aware. But right now, teams are not willing to offer him that in a long-term facet. We know from a couple of different accounts, the Mets have offered him a 4-year offer. And we go back to Jon Heyman's tweet, it's $50 million a year. Pretty simple math on that, on what he would end up making in that contract. But at the end of the day, does he fit best with the Dodgers? That's what a lot of media personalities say. Jon Heyman here kind of answering a question saying that he fits best with the Dodgers, in my opinion. I'm not ripping anyone here, just thoughts on asking a question. And multiple media personalities have said this. Does Toronto make sense? 100%. But does he fit better with the Toronto Blue Jays or the Los Angeles Dodgers? And it's the Los Angeles Dodgers, and a lot of media personalities think it's not really a question. And so here's what we know as of right now. A deal could happen at any moment, and here, as we stand, are the current offers, or at least rumors of current offers of what we know. The Dodgers are not as high as the Mets. However, they are not going to be lowering down to $40 million. So as of right now, people are saying the Dodgers' current offer is 3 years for $135 million, meaning it's a $45 million AAV contract. The Blue Jays are the only one of these three teams offering long-term deals, and their contract, 10 years, but just $300+ million, which we don't know the exact amount, but it is implied that it's 8 to 10 years. A lot of people say it is 10 years, which would make it a $30 million AAV. However, that means that he's going to get paid $30 million plus for the next 10 years. And then the Mets, who right now have the most lucrative offer for 4 years, $200 million, which of course is a $50 million AAV. And looking at these contracts, there are bonuses and minuses to each one of these. We can speak from the Dodgers' perspective first, knowing that we are a winning organization, and that if Kyle Tucker joins our organization, I fully and wholeheartedly believe that we will win the World Series once again next season. I think that's really just a given. But also, something to consider, I think for the Dodgers offer, there's probably opt-outs in it, meaning he could sign this year, get $45 million, and have an opt-out next season to try and do this over again once the new players agreement is reached. Now, for the Blue Jays, 10 years. You're not getting the AAV one, but you're getting security, you're getting a team that is close to you for spring training, and you're getting people who you seem to be the preferred destination according to friends and former teammates. That's the plus there. But then the Mets, 4 years for $50 million AAV. You're getting a lot of money, but in my thought, I don't think the Mets are going to offer any options. If they do, it'd be after the third season, which would make him, going back to the stats, a 3 years from now, a almost 31-year-old free agent at that point. Now, the market value might have changed, and he could still be good enough to get a high contract value, but would he want to risk that, or would he rather take something long-term now? I think there's bonuses and minuses to both, but there's articles being put out left and right about this situation, and Jon Heyman talked about the Mets and said that if the Mets aim high, and Kyle Tucker is one of the MLB's best, but again, they have already spent a ton of money on Juan Soto. They traded for Marcus Semien. They have Francisco Lindor. They have a interesting place, but they already have a left-handed hitting right fielder, right? That's Juan Soto. So if they're going to do this, is this just a cry for help knowing what the Mets have not been able to succeed? And in that case scenario, is Kyle Tucker going to know that? They're going to know that maybe if I go there, that'd be great, but is a World Series actually coming? And that's the question he has to ask himself, and so many different questions. So I do want to kind of look back on your takes on this because, like I said, these contracts offer different pluses and minuses. I think for the Dodgers, you're going to win, you're getting a lot of money, and you have opt-outs. For the Blue Jays, you get security, you get a team that you probably prefer, but you're not getting the money that you want. For the Mets, you're getting the money, you're getting somewhat of the years, but you're also putting yourself in a difficult position, maybe somewhere down the road. And so knowing this, I want you to answer the question for me. I want you to be in the steps, or in the footsteps, in the shoes, whatever you want to call it, of Andrew Freeman today. What would your offer to Kyle Tucker be if you were the Dodgers? Now, I understand a lot of you, if you want to put those long-term contracts, be my guest, go ahead. But it seems like the Dodgers are not willing to do that. The Dodgers are willing to say, we are a good team, we will let you win, and we have a spot for you, and you will get paid a very good amount to play here. That's what they're saying. What's your thought on this? What would you go to Kyle Tucker and say, hey, we have this for you, we would love for you to join us, but it's got to be this. What's your offer that you're putting on the table for Kyle Tucker? I want to know it in the comment section. Put years, money, AAV. If you want to put deferred money, you want to go in depth on the contract, go ahead, be my guest. But let me know what your offer to Kyle Tucker would be. If you're asking me, I would give him somewhat similar to what they're offering right now. And I think that it's a good situation for both sides. I'm offering him a 3-year contract, and I might go to the $47 million mark if the Mets are going $50 million. And I'm giving you an opt-out after the first year and after the second year. I don't want to be this type of guy, but I'm going to be this type of guy. I want a three-peat more than anything else. And maybe that's just my vision being convoluted by looking at the near future, knowing that next year is something that I want. But if I got Kyle Tucker for a lot of money for 1 year, won a World Series, three-peated with that, I think I'd feel pretty good, especially with the 2027 players agreement coming in where baseball could be in a very interesting position. Like I said, his current value right now has actually dropped over time. At one point, it was 10 years for $400 million. That was the Spotrac contract estimate for Kyle Tucker. Now, 8 years for $319, meaning he's just under that $40 million a year mark. This, of course, has kind of changed his mindset and thinking, could I get the $40 million next year for 10 years? Could I get the $40 million for 8 years next year? Could I get the $40 million somewhere next year? Because the Blue Jays aren't going to offer you that. They know they're the only team offering you long-term contracts, and they know that they can use that against it in some ways. So I'm curious to think of what Kyle Tucker believes. Curious to think of the Blue Jays and think, we're the team that's offering me that. But at the end of the day, I think there is also this. We can talk about Kyle Tucker, we can talk about this, but at the end of the day, if Kyle Tucker does go to the Blue Jays or the Mets, I think in that case scenario, Bo gets a big boost to joining the Dodgers as well. Now, right now, the Phillies, the Red Sox seem to be the top two teams in the market for him, but if he does not go to the Phillies or the Red Sox, I think the Dodgers are right there with him, which, whether you like it or not, I think Edwin Diaz is the move that Freeman said, I made it. That's what I like. I'm going to keep it and go from there. And we'll see what happens after that. I'd love it to get Kyle Arbo, but I would not be shocked if the smaller moves come in and they stick with saying, hey, we got Edwin Diaz and we have a really good field and team right now. We don't need to do much else. What's your thoughts on the whole Dodger situation? Let me know your thoughts in the comment section. That's all we got for you today. We'll let you know if a deal comes in, what happens. But for now, we appreciate you watching. We'll see you next time here on Dodgers Digest. Peace out, guys.